Can you help us understand the storage issues? The headlines make us think that there are mountains worth of waste. About spent nuclear fuel, right? Yeah, when it becomes political, like with spent nuclear fuel, then it tends to get spun to make it sound like it's a lot worse than it is. I remember reading an anti-nuclear book once where the author was pointing out that nuclear power plants release millions and millions of attocuries of radioactivity every year. And that sounds like a lot, right? There's millions and millions of it. But an attocurie, that's 10 to the minus 18. So even though you have millions of it, it's an infinitesimally, it's an incredibly small amount, but you make it sound like it's really big. So like the leak of Monticello, instead of saying, well, you know, it was less than an Olympic-sized swimming pool, it's not that much for a leak that's only got a certain amount of radioactivity in it. But then when you put that in gallons, right, that is a huge number. Fukushima water release, a lot of things like that. They put the numbers in units that make it sound huge rather than actually putting it in perspective. How much waste do you have for the energy that you got? That's really a more realistic number. And when you look at, for example, all the spent nuclear fuel that we have from all of the nuclear energy that we received in the United States, not filling up a football field above 10 meters high, that kind of characterizes how small the amount of waste is. But you can put it in numbers and make it sound big, right? How many grams? How many micrograms? How many picograms? And the number just gets really huge because you use units that make you have to have a large number of that unit. And when it comes to the actual impact for those casks, once you have those, in order for you to actually do that legally, which is by law how you're going to do it, you have to protect the public at a rate of 100 milligram per year. Now that, again, is just a number. Who knows what that is? That's about a third of your natural background. So that means to have a licensed interim spent fuel storage facility on site. What we do with the spent nuclear fuel now is that you put that on site at an interim spent fuel storage site there at your facility. And at the fence, wherever that fence is, a cowboy needs to be able to go up and live there and not have their annual dose raised by about 1/3. That's about what that 100 milligram is. It's about 1/3 of your natural dose just from living and breathing and walking around. And that's right at the fence. So you can walk through those things and it's like about a milligram per day is what you're going to get. And that's about what you just get from natural background anyway in a day. And so it's easy to spin this stuff up and sound really scary and bad and horrific when it's not. It's just because there's a political narrative that drives people to a conclusion without actually looking at the contextualized facts. And that tends to be the case with nuclear energy, is that there's a narrative that it has to be evil and bad. And so how do we interpret the facts to agree with that conclusion, even though that's not really supported by reality?